Hello everybody, James Rink here. Welcome to another edition of Super Soldier Talk. It is March 6, 2016, and I have Aida with me, right?
Aida.
Okay. Okay, and we're going to go into perhaps monarch programming, perhaps alien love bites, contacts with reptilians, and it appears that you, I don't even know where to begin, maybe somewhere in your childhood, perhaps. So you believe that you might have been experiencing certain Milab phenomenon, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I mean, I really don't know. Obviously, I've shared this, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity. First, I want to say that.
You're welcome.
To share my story. I come from a family of 12. Okay, my mother had 12 children. My father, I'm half Scottish, Irish, and half Arabic, Palestinian. And the reason I say that is because my father came to this country. He was involved in the trafficking of firearms in Palestine, had gotten in some trouble, and the story is not clear from my family. I don't know that I'll ever get the truth. I'm going to have to seek that on my own through my, asking the universe for some answers. But from my understanding, my father had gotten in trouble, went to the American embassy in Palestine, and they gave him a visa to come to the United States on a visitor's visa. But you don't steal firearms from the military and just get sent to America and you're free. From he was what's called a watcher in Palestine for the Jordanian government, which they watched the land from Israel to Palestine. And he, like I said, for the story in my family is that he took a charge for my Aunt Mary's husband, and so that and was sent to America and never to step foot on Palestinian soil again. There's a reason for that. I think that my father, on my dad, I think he was involved in, I know he was, I know he had prostituted women, he was into sex trafficking and so forth and so on. So I could keep going, but I'll wait for you to ask me questions because, like I said, this is my first interview, and
Okay. Yeah.
Going,
Yeah. Well, so you believe your father maybe is what began all this for you?
Well, I do. I think that maybe he made an agreement or did something. I believe that they've had access to me pretty much all my life. Let me tell you a short story. When I was maybe 3 or 4 years old, I remember jumping out a window, playing with this little boy Benny across the street from where I lived, and we were on the second floor. So I believe that I had memories of possibly flying, or I thought that I could do what I was doing, and I didn't hurt myself. I was fine. I don't know if you see this, but I injured so Benny's mother slammed the front door on my finger, and it split it wide open when she had got tired of us running upstairs and coming back through the front door playing, and she didn't understand how we were getting out from upstairs, considering it was the second floor. So I had asked to come back and play, and she slammed the door, I guess out of frustration, and split my finger wide open. But I don't have clarification on this, but I'm thinking that was when I was very first turned over to a handler, so to speak. Because when I was taken to the doctors, I remember seeing my sister sitting in the waiting room, and the doctor slamming the curtain shut, and I remember him spanking me or hitting me for crying. Well, I'm a 3-4-year-old little girl, you would, and when your fingers split wide open, there's blood everywhere, of course you're going to be scared, and that was the beginning. Now, my story has a lot of molestation, rape, and physical abuse involved. I don't believe that I'm the only person in my family that has been a part of the Monarch Mind Control Program, and I'm not even sure if that's the exact program I was involved in, but I will say this, through like the message that I sent you, the guy Rick, his name is Derek Johnson, he was in the United States Navy, 20 years, last 5 at the Pentagon. when I was going through this awakening period where I believe my DNA was being activated. I was able to, have telepathy, and I was seeing things, experiencing things. I was going through these very deep states of meditation, seeing different images in my head. I decided to start writing a book called Little Sisters Lost Soul. Now, to let you know, James, I have a 6th grade education. That's the last grade I completed, and I'm a pretty smart cookie. I have an ability to sense things before they happen. Huge empath. Probably, all my life my family told me I'm too nice, I give too much, and I put other people before myself, and, I could go on and on and on. And, but the first time that so I was 5 years old, and I went in this underground sewer tunnel, and I had stolen this little boy's bike. Now, my grandmother, from my understanding, was a pretty evil person. From my older brothers and sisters, I don't remember her being that way, because she never treated me like that. But, so, my point in saying that is I think there's some satanic, generational stuff going on here on my mom, because my mother, she went to 12th grade and left home. She was all the way up to 12th. She could have graduated. She wanted away from my grandmother so bad that she ended up marrying a guy in the military and getting out away from my grandmother. That's how desperate she was to get away. Now, I don't know if you could see this. See that picture? That guy in the middle.
Can you kind of move your cam's okay. Go out a little bit further. Oh yeah,
right there?
Yes.
That's my father.
Okay.
And his name is Isa. I-S-A. Very well loved. People came from all over the states and God knows where else when my father passed away. I know for sure that my father probably, I think that, everybody on this planet is special to me. And I don't think I'm any better or any greater than anybody. But I definitely know that there's something about my family, and specifically, both sides. Because my grandfather, he was in World War II, where he had redid all the furniture in the White House when it burnt down. My grandmother had tea with Roosevelt's wife. So there was something going on there. And then my grandfather, from my dad's side, he was in the military. He came to America and went back. And then that's when the rest of the family came from Palestine, when Israel and Palestine were going through, fighting over the land and all that stuff. But I know that you don't steal firearms from the military and just get a ticket for free. You go to U.S. and that's it. So I think that there's something going on with that.
Do you have idea what?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an idea what kind of what branch of the military he might have been associated with, or branches?
Well, from my understanding, their armies or military structures are not like us in the U.S., where they're smaller, almost like militias, if you will. There's rumor that he was part of the PLO. I don't know that I'll ever find that out, but let me just say this to you, James. The night that I went to go see my Aunt Rose to question her about how my father came here and what he was involved in is the night that I went to call. I called it when I left her house, and my sister Frida told me that she would never tell me anything. If she does know anything, she's never going to speak of it. And that's okay. So when I left, I called a cab to come home, and I called back a half hour. I had waited, and no cab came. They said that one wasn't even dispatched. That's when I was sitting at the bus stop, and I'm waiting for the cab to come. There was a Spanish guy sitting there, and then some guy with dreads also came who was a coworker. We were near this Home Depot. All of a sudden, this big flash, white light, just flashes the whole bus stop and lights it up. So I look over to the Spanish guy, like, did you guys just not see that? Like, but nobody said anything or did anything. So, of course, I am, at that point, I didn't realize that I was being abducted. I was being pushed into a new timeline. And I spoke to Evie Lorgan about this, and she said that that definitely was an abduction, but we want to know why. Well, I'm sure that they wanted to know what my aunt told me about my father, because they can't do like they used to after 2000. 2012, they're not able to, I guess, tap into, like, see what's going on like they used to. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that depends. I mean, if it's the military slash government, yeah, apparently that ability has been turned down, shut down. But for the ETs, I mean, they could. So I'm assuming, yeah, okay.
So this is what happens. So I get, okay, if I go back and forth, just help me stay online, because there's so much information to this that it's, I'm doing my first session with Simon Parks soon, and I'm truly looking forward to it.
Okay.
So now, the night that I went to go see my aunt when this took place, I noticed a real thick, wide, like smoke, but kind of, it wasn't, I don't know how to explain it. I knew it was something. Let me just say that. It was underneath my chandelier right here in my living room. And I remember, and I hadn't smoked a cigarette for a while, so I knew it wasn't smoke. And I look, and I say out loud, I see you. Like, what is that? Right? Well, I now know it was a jinn, for sure. And then, so let me fast forward back to the bus stop. So the bus finally comes, we all get on the bus, and the bus is at a standstill. These two black boys come, young, probably in their 20s, come, rushing behind us on the bus. Now, I'm a pretty aware person, and I pay attention to my surroundings. I mean, it's possible that something obviously could get by me and I didn't see it, but these guys were nowhere around. When we got on the bus, the boys got on, didn't pay their bus fare, go to sit down, and we were sitting there for like 3 or 4 minutes, and here's the bus driver telling the kids, you guys need to pay, people want to get home, they're getting off work, and there was something in me that knew that this was about me, right? So I say, okay, I get up and I go and pay the bus fare. And the bus lady is telling the guys, you need to thank her. And I said, they don't need to thank me. They don't realize that, they have FEMA camps for people like this. I was being smart. You need to learn how to be respectful and not do what you're doing to these kids. Never thinking that what's happening is what was happening, right? So, anyway, so I paid for the bus. I said, we could be saving somebody's life tonight. Long story short, the whole time, so we get to Glenmont Station. I decide to get off the bus, go downstairs to go onto the train, and pass the escalators to go down. So when I realized I passed where I needed to go down into the train, I did a quick U-turn, and there the boys are. And at that point, I snapped. And I said, and you don't want to know the words I use, but pretty much, get away from me, because I know exactly what you're up to, and you better back off. They were following me. At that point, I knew that there was something going on. So we go downstairs. The kids, now I know they have no money, because I paid for them to get on the bus. So I say to myself, do I go and say something to no. I'm not going to say nothing. Maybe they're just whatever, but I'm not getting involved. Well, sure enough, I didn't have any money on my card, so I had to go put money on my card. By the time I got on the escalator, of course, I looked down in the platform below to see if I see these kids, because I don't know what they're up to. I mean, I didn't fear that they were wanting to harm me, but I knew that they were wanting to be around me for a bigger reason. Sure enough, there they are on one of the carts with the guy with the dreads, not the Spanish guy, but the guy with the dreads, and they're all waiting for Ida to come down the escalator. I go to get on a cart purposely to stay away from them, and they get off their cart and come over and get on mine. So I'm discussing my book and going to see my aunt and this and that, and they sure had their ears perked up, hoping to hear something I was going to say. So on the way, I'm in this discussion with this guy with the dreads, and he had chuckled to himself, and he said, I wouldn't have let them do anything to you. And I said, well, I appreciate that. I wasn't so concerned, because somehow, some way, I've always had this this inner knowingness. Plus, I can be a little bit aggressive. If you knew me, I have a heart of gold, and I would do anything in the world for anybody. But I don't tolerate wickedness and ugliness. I don't like it. I'm not I'm not a clique person. I don't look to, I'm not going to be in agreement with something that I don't agree with. I'm not a side taker or I've always been alone. I'll just say that. All my life, I feel like I've been alone. But I know I haven't been, because I know that there's something much bigger than me, James. Really, I've seen so much and been through so much, but I know I'm not a victim, and I've never been that person to like feel sorry for myself. I always just want to understand it. Anyways, so fast forward, so we're on the train, and I passed my stop. I told the guy I would continue, because he was very interested in, about my book, because I started writing a book called Little Sisters Lost Soul, and I was having all these spiritual experiences, and I'm feeling blissful, and, you light up when you're in that state, and they can find you very quickly, and they did. That's the whole point of the major targeting, and I know that. But anyway, so we passed I get off the next stop, and I'm waiting for the train to come back. I'm talking to these young girls. Sure enough, I get on the train, and here's one of the black boys. When I got to my next stop, he's standing right next to me on the escalator. Just appeared out of nowhere. So I knew that there was something happening. That, not maybe, I don't know how soon it was, but it wasn't long after that. I hadn't seen this guy, Rick. I don't know if I could pull up a picture and send it to you, but Laura Eisenhower told me that he's a shape-shifting reptilian.
So this is not Rick Smith. This is a different Rick.
Yes, this is a different Rick. Rick is the guy. Okay, so in 2000, so the reptilian love bite connection, they connected me with this guy, Tyrell. We ended up splitting up. We were only together for like 4 months. Now, I've had a struggle with drug abuse on and off all my life, right? And I kept getting clean and not understanding. Every couple years, I would go back to the same type of men that were physically abusive, hurtful, emotionally unavailable, and I'd end up relapsing again, if you will. You want to call it relapse, whatever. And I didn't understand. I knew I didn't want to use drugs. I knew I didn't want to live the life that I had lived. And why was I kept going back to this? Then I realized that I was in this mind control program. So once I got rid of Tyrell and this guy Rick, who's 6'4", brown skin, reptilian, I know it for sure, but I don't.
How do you know it? How do you know he is reptilian?
Laura Eisenhower told me when I had shared with her, and I showed her a picture, and well, I know for sure because the night when I was laying in my bed and I felt digging in my arm, and I told him about it, and that it woke me up. The pain was great enough, the sensation from it, that it woke me up out of my sleep. And see, all the while, they sent him to be a handler, basically, right? All the while, I'm telling him everything that's going on with me. And I remember sitting on the couch, and I said, Rick, he told me he was becoming a federal police officer. And I said, Rick, there's 2 reasons why people become police officers. Either they want to, their egos are so grand that they want to, power trip, or that they truly want to be in service and help humanity in the situation that we're in right now, and so forth and so on. And I said, I'm not stupid, right? And he got up, and I swear, he walked to my door and said, Ida, if I didn't know you were special, I'd have left you alone a long time ago. So I knew right then he was here for a much bigger reason than us just meeting on some social site. And I wish that I was able to pull up, because my old phone's broke, but I sent him quite a message that made myself very clear, and he finally, backed off. Because I told him, I know who you are. And I'm not, you would have to, and I'm going to get the phone fixed so I can get it, because it's going to go in my book. But anyways, I had went to Arizona and came back, and you know how these handlers try to make it like they're, there to help you and, save you from all this horrific stuff or whatever. He wasn't smart enough for me. I'll just let you know that, James. And I don't say that egotistically. I could see right through his bullshit. Excuse my language. So he panically comes knocking at my door. I come back from Arizona. I hadn't seen the guy in, I don't know, a month, 2 months, something like that. And I had changed my Wi-Fi. My router. And I knew he was at my door for a reason. Mind you, I had found these earrings in a planter in my kitchen. And I'm thinking that I was dating, which is ironic because I was dating him and this other guy, and both their birthdays were on the same day, and they were two extreme different people, right? One is a ex-drug addict, now a cook working somewhere who is not doing nothing with himself, and I helped him as best I could, and then I got this guy, 20 years in the military, whatever.
Rick.
I know
This guy Rick.
Yeah, he worked with the Black Ops, and I was contacted in my kitchen. What happened was, I was in my kitchen, and I thought it was for my sleep medication, or I considered that, but I kind of knew that that wasn't the case. So here I am talking to my microwave, my coffee maker, and my toaster, right? And I'm telling my niece Laura about this, and she's laughing. I'm like, I seen images of my nephew Matthew and my niece Belinda on these devices or whatever, on the microwave and stuff. So now I know through research, because I knew something happened, I just didn't understand what. And I've never been one to, I knew that there were other beings, but I didn't give a whole lot of attention to, alien beings and outer space and none of that, right? Because I've always had a wonderful relationship with the God of my understanding, the Absolute Supreme. And I've always been protected in some very dark places, so I knew that there had to have been something that was protecting me. But anyways, so I'm telling my niece this story, then I find out that that's what they do. They'll put images in your mind so you don't freak out, right? And think that, or whatever. Plus, one day my sister Frida called me, and I woke up. I was sitting right here because, okay, so you know how, James Bartley says that back injuries are big for reptilian, they'll cause back injuries and stuff because it causes pain and energy. Energy gets trapped in the lower part of the body and keeps you in this survival, and pain. They feed off of dark, negative energy, right? So here I am thinking I'm doing everything I need to for my life to turn around. I'm writing a book. Beautiful things are happening, and they just came in and knocked me right back on my butt because I end up relapsing again. And I'm like, okay, God, well, let me get back to you. So I'm sitting on right here where I'm sitting right now. My sister Frida called me. I said, Frida, God, it feels like something's been pulling on my head all night. Well, sure enough, I can feel it right here. I have it's probably a reptilian implant. I'm sure it is.
So you feel like a lump or something?
Yeah, it's like a
rod or...
It's right here at the base of my skull. This little, BB size, not. Plus, I have I went and had my hair done in, an African bun. I like to be, I'm a Leo woman. August 7th, by the way. And my name is Aida. I don't know if you know what Aida is, the name. Aida in Arabic means visitor, returner, and reward. It also is the female energy that goes up the spine from the Kundalini. So it's the female part. It's called Aida, right? So I think there's something to that too, because I had committed suicide in 2004. I took a bunch of pills and I said, God, this is what you created me for. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired now. And I surrendered. I said, I'm laying down. I don't know if I'm going to get up, but I'm laying down now, as if, the stand was going to come and save me.
Now, was that before your love bites or afterward?
Yes, before, in 2004. The love bite, well, I'm pretty sure they put me in these love bite scenarios all my life. But it wasn't until 2012, after I had this spiritual experience, when I start writing my book, and then all these things back to back are happening. Mind you, I live in a building called the Silverton. Now, are you familiar about the TON thing?
No.
Okay.
Please enlighten us.
Okay, so there's a guy, Jay Parker, who Sasha Stone is pretty close to. They've done some videos. You might want to check them out. But Jay Parker has said that TON is a secret Illuminati code. So Washington, Trenton, Hilton, I live in the Silverton. Anything with TON at the end, that is an Illuminati to say to these secret societies, you can find your people here. and I'm assuming possibly satanic worship and so forth and so on. All right, have you ever heard of Chris Keller?
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
Okay,
Go
Chris
ahead.
Keller's an energy work. He does energy healing. I did a healing session with him, and he told me that my body was being used as a stargate, right? And that there was an Illuminati sacrifice ritual done on me, satanic ritual, to offer my life up to this Moloch character. I think when they realized that, even though they, because my house got broke into, and I know it was the police. I know it was. There was nothing stolen. It's all a long story, but they have been doing everything they can to trip me up, to keep me, in this drug underground world, living this life that is not my true self, so that I would never fully awaken to who I am and to create. Because when I start writing my book, all these different people start showing up in my life, like synchronicities for my book. As a matter of fact, Hay House, I'm going to go through probably Cobra. What's it called? Hay House has a self-publishing part that I'm probably going to do for my book. But back to, I know I'm jumping around because they call it ADHD, and that I was diagnosed with that, but I don't believe I'm ADHD at all. I just think I'm a high vibrational being. People have always said, Ida, you're too much, calm down, and da-da-da-da. And, but it's just my mind, I process information differently than other people. And I can't do numbers, and I don't know why, but I think there's a block. There's something going on. Oh, I meant to tell you this. A couple weeks ago, I was in the bed, and I hear this, pew, 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 like these ping, like I was in some Star Wars, like this game, like this outer space game, like I was shooting and having, like, I just heard a lot of sounds like they have. I think they're using me for my psychic abilities and my energy, because I carry such a huge I carry a lot of energy. Oh, by the way, that's another thing. Laura Eisenhower told me, Ida, I've done close to 1,000 readings. She said, I've never seen anybody's cards fall like yours to my life. And all of the readings, nobody's ever, she said, you're nothing but pure light. And of course, I was happy to hear that, because I would like to think that I'm a good person. Yeah? And I've done everything I can to be of service to other people all my life. I've put myself last. I will go out of my way to make somebody else. Now, I'm not a people pleaser or an ass kisser. I don't look for validation. I just get joy out of doing things for other people that are kind. So, I don't know. And she also said that I have a huge connection to Mars. I'm not clear about what that is yet.
Okay.
But I want to know.
All right.
And I was dating this guy named, and I don't want, well, for his own protection, I believe he is, like, if you met, this guy is, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, big, his handwriting, he's highly intelligent. I know this guy is definitely a super soldier. But when I called him to talk to him about, he said, Ida, you and I are lucky to be alive. He said that we've gone through so much. It's just amazing. I said, I know, John. Well, his name's John. I'm not going to give his last name. But he won't talk to me now. Ever since I brought up to him, John, can you tell me, like, I know there was stuff going on that because he told me he went to see it there. He got dishonorably discharged from the Marines because of just the psychic, or the mental nonsense that man went through from being in the military, whatever programs they had him involved in, I don't know. But there was a lot of mind control going on with PCP, LSD, cocaine, everything right here where I live at. I live right on the D.C. Maryland line, by the way.
Yeah, so he actually admitted to using some of these drugs, or is it part of my...
He used them with me. We both used them. I used to be into drugs. Listen, and my first handler was this guy named Claude Edgar Wood Bubba. And I noticed whenever he would call me, like, he would always bring up stuff from the past, like to trigger me, right? And I finally caught on to it once I did research, and I realized what that was all about. And I realized that he was my first handler that they sent. He talked, he had me doing drugs and involved in sexual things that I would listen, James, there's so much stuff that I know. I sat right there. I said, Frida, where was I? She said, I don't know, Ida. I guess you were just trying to survive. I believe that they have used my eyes and ears to be in certain scenarios and situations. Because I remember when Bubba, my first handler, when he got shot, I was able, I have a photogenic I can remember things like visually or whatever. And I remember the Montgomery County detective asked me if I would be interested in coming to work for him. But I grew up in a family with a brother that sold drugs, UCP heavily, and I was taught that you don't tell on anybody, and that included all these people that were molesting me and raping me and doing the things they were doing. And I haven't had regression done yet. And I have a good memory. So God knows, James, I used to sit underneath streetlights from the age of 6, 7, 8 years old waiting for my mother to come home at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if I was being, if that's the memory that they've implanted in me, or if I was being taken during that, because, where was the people, my family, nobody, I remember my mother pulling up saying, Ida, what are you doing out here? Does anybody know you're out? Well, if they know I'm out there, they don't give a crap because I'm out here, and I went in this underground sewer tunnel I was telling you when I was 5. I know, am I jumping around too much?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of different questions, but let's just keep focused on the... Okay, all right. Well, first of all, I know you mentioned something about fog, seeing some kind of fog or a mist inside your house. Do you recall seeing any beings in that fog?
I don't recall seeing beings, but I do know reptilians are able to shape shift into jinns. So I would imagine Mr. Rick, probably that could have been him or something else.
Was he living with you at that time?
He didn't live with me.
Oh, okay.
He told me he rented a basement from an older couple. Well, interesting enough, he lives underground in probably some, he's not going to, I questioned him when he showed up at my door the night I found the earrings in my planner. And Sasha Stone told me, Ida, it sounds like you were initiated into something. That was an initiation, saying, that I've rise in consciousness and possibly, I don't know.
What the fog in the house?
I'm sorry?
The fog in the house was a rise in consciousness? Is that what you think?
No. I'm talking about the fog. What I saw in here was a jinn. I can almost guarantee you that. But I believe that Rick, okay, so if you think about it, if there was a satanic ritual done on my life, right? But I'm alive. I'm here. They were doing everything they could, probably sending the jinn to scare me, right? Or to gain information, because here I'm getting ready to go see my aunt and question her about my dad. I do believe I'm bloodline, right?
You mentioned your progeny is what, Irish, Scottish, Native American, as well as Palestinian?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think you might have any royalty bloodlines associated with any of that?
I don't know, and I'm going to do some research. I'm going to, once I speak to Simon Parks, I think that a lot of my questions are going to be answered. He's going to be able to tell me. But, there's been, okay, so, there's a couple reasons why I think I am who I am, but I don't know that I want to share that right now. But I believe that I believe that I was very close to this character Jesus, if you will. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, like a past life kind of thing. Okay.
Definitely.
Well, I do want to mention that I know some other reptilian contactees that mention that they see a fog appear around them right prior to a reptilian contact, and they also hear a clicking sound, or maybe a beeping sound. I don't know if have you ever heard any beeps or clicking sounds in your house?
Yes, and I get them I have that clicking in my ear a lot. And I have this high pitched that will come in and out. And depends, I notice when I talk about certain things, that seems to happen. Like right now, it's not happening, but it happens often.
Okay.
I get this high pitched sound.
Yeah, and I also want to mention that implant on the back of your neck. You said it was a BB size. Typically speaking, implants from the ETs are very, very small to the point where they're microscopic or even the size of the DNA codons. So if that is a genuine implant, then it's probably military or government because they're not very advanced technologically compared to extraterrestrials anyway. But that already plays into your story, especially with, I mean, you mentioned these black boys, and I guess you got to the point when they got on the train or got off the train because they were on a bus and they went on the train, but you did I missed it. Am I okay? I missed what happened. What was the conclusion of that story? Were they ETs or?
It was. Well, I got off. I passed my stop here in Silver Spring, and the next stop I got off. They were on the train, so that was the end of that. Coming back, while I was waiting for the train to come back, because one of the tracks was down, so we had to wait for the train. So there was only one track. Now, for that boy to be so coming back, I didn't see him when I got back on the train to come back one stop back because I missed my stop. When I got off the train and went to get on the escalator, one of the boys was standing right next to me, right there.
So you think
he appeared next to me?
Did you actually see him materialize out of thin air, or
no?
He was just okay.
But I was looking down to go get my card out of my purse, and sure enough, I look up, and there he is standing next to me.
Well,
so
okay. Well, who do you think they are? In your opinion?
I think that they are hired by our government or these black op government programs. You know, I watched this one thing. This is what made me think about that this is possibly who they are. They go over in these countries and hire these black boys and tell them they're involved in this great, program for the government to do this work, and they give them $5,000. They come over here and they have them, assassinating people, doing things, gang stalking people, all kinds of stuff. So I would imagine that they were there to get information or hear me speak about something or to create fear in me.
Well, another alternative is they could be Milabs themselves and be under some kind of altar and doing some reconnaissance, perhaps, for a reason I'm still trying to figure out. But I'm assuming, based on what? Yes.
Because when Rick came to my house that night, and I let him in my door, the guy in the military, the reptilian guy. I said, Rick, what are you doing here, and how'd you get in my building, right? He told me there was security working that night, and there wasn't. But that's, because I went and spoke with my resident manager. But he came in I could tell that he was very eager to, and what it was is I changed my Wi-Fi. And they hadn't done their abduction. I woke up to see my body hanging from my ceiling.
Okay. So okay, you astral projected out of your body, and is that what was going on?
Oh, I did not. I don't know. I woke up to this, like my head, like I was right next to an engine. Okay, and the noise was so loud that it woke me up out of my sleep. So I was consciously awake, but my body wasn't awake yet, and I could see my body hanging from my ceiling. So I don't know if they were returning me or if they were trying to get me out of my house. But they came for me. And I saw blank TV screens. I told Rick about this, also with the digging in the arm. When I said to him about waking up with feeling these claws digging in my arms, he said, Ida, babe, he used to call me babe. Babe, how'd that make you feel? Well, I don't like it. I didn't like it. Nobody has the right to come but there's these reptilians that come and get into bed with you. You'll be sleeping, have sex, whatever they do. And so I would imagine that may have been him. I don't know. Also, one night, my girlfriend Kelly spent the night with me, and I slept out here in the living room. I let her sleep in my bed, and I felt the sensation, the sexual sensation on my breast. And I said, "Get out of here. You have to." Oh, by the way, that night. Okay, wait a minute. I didn't finish the conclusion. My mind's all over the place. Back to the black boys. That night, I was asleep out here, and I literally got out of, so my light body, I walked over to my window, because they came into my house. And I said, "Get out of here. You have no business being here." And they left, and I got up, and so my body, my physical body, was on the couch where you see me right here. And I got up, and I walked to the window, and I saw them running across my parking lot.
Saw who running?
The two black boys.
Okay, was this the same day, around the same time, or?
That night, later on that night. Yes. That night, after I seen it, when I got off the train, I came home. Also, I seen a shadow being when I was walking home from the grocery store one night. I went to go walk a certain way, and there it was, and I just stopped. I could see it like 200 feet away from me, or 100 feet, however far, like a block and a half, but I could see it. And I seen it, and I looked, and I knew, don't go that way, Ida. And I turned around and walked a different way. So what they were doing was sending all these things trying to scare me, is what they were doing.
Well,
I've already crossed over.
I
already know.
Have you ever seen any of these black boys ever again after this incident? Have they reappeared?
No. They came to my house that night. And I told them, "Get out of my house."
Wow.
I swear. And I told them to get out. They had no business being here. And then...
Well, what do they want? What do they want? They came to your door.
This was astral.
Oh.
This was astral. It had to have been, because I got up out of my body, my light body, and walked to my window and seen them running across my parking lot. Like running away from my building. But when I told Rick about it, what happened, he said, "Tell me about the black boys." So I knew that he was... I also had a dream that he killed two... There's so much stuff.
Well, okay, let's go back here. So when you told Rick about the black boys, it sounded like he already knew about it. Did you tell him about the incident before he asked you that question?
About them following me on the bus.
Okay, so
he was concerned about my Wi-Fi, because he knew he had to have that Wi-Fi, my email and so forth, in order for them to come and do the abduction. They use Wi-Fi, James, I'm telling you. That's how that's how they're able to get people, however they do it, it's through Wi-Fi.
Okay, well, maybe they can sync up into the mind control grid that way. Or the implants in your mind or body. Now you've also suggested that people were taking photos of you.
Yes.
So what's going on with that?
Well, have you ever heard where, like, if they can't get to you anymore, they start affecting everybody around you?
Yeah. There's certainly, a degree of truth to that, for sure.
Not they can't get to you anymore, but basically they start affecting everybody. They try to have you in isolation and seclude, where nobody, they isolate you. They do the best they can to keep you alone and not experiencing the frequency of love and connectedness and so forth. Well, this little girl, Peyton, who's my girlfriend's daughter, she's like a niece to me, and she spends the night with me, and she told me there was tapping on her shoulder, and she was having nosebleeds, which I know is a sign of abduction. And I know that there are entities in my home or something going on, because she told me he kept tapping her, and I know that this is a way of jinn, wanting to enter into somebody's body or be attached to them or whatever. So my fear for her, plus my girlfriend Sarah, she came in my house. I was supposed to be doing, talking to Alfred Webbery, and I was sending him and the introduction of my book. She was helping me because I don't do very well with computers, and they attacked her. Her stomach was killing her. So they were causing a lot of pain. Plus, I know when I went to Whole Foods, some woman started doing all this stuff around my head, and I believe that the police are involved, where they are doing these satanic rituals and, wreaking havoc on people's lives and sending, these entities to do attacks and so forth. All that kind of crap.
Well, do you have any personal experience with the police? Have you seen them do that, or is that just?
No, but I was at Whole Foods going to buy coconut oil and was talking to one of the ladies about, certain brands, and she was talking to me normally, and then all of a sudden she started doing all this stuff, and I said, could you please stop doing that? Like, I know that she was triggered to do, like, she went from right before my eyes to something normal to like an entity being, like she was being possessed somehow. So when I went to pay for my things, I told the lady, I said, you know that lady that, and she said, oh, she's got mental, and I'm thinking, no, she's being used with havoc on people's lives. And I get home, and that night, my stomach was killing me. Plus, the police broke into my home, James.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, your voice got out of sync.
Last
Okay, we're good.
January, my house got broke into. They didn't steal anything. All they did was mess my house up, put a man's shoe at the bottom of my bed, a pair of my thongs on my desk, and a spoon, like basically letting me know that, because when I relapsed, when you use certain drugs, one of which is cocaine, there's certain ways to do it. But put it this way, they wanted to let me know that they had access to me and that they were watching me. Well, I remember my landlord coming in here, changing the batteries in my smoke detectors, and I'm pretty sure there's probably cameras in my house or listening devices, and I've tried to get Montgomery County to help me, and they won't. Mind you, I'm looking at the clock right now, and the clock says 1:11. I hadn't wanted to look at the time the whole time we've been interviewing, and the one time I do look at it, it says 1111. So there is a presence of divine source with us.
Well, what does 1111 mean?
It means that the frequency of God, of the divine source, creator.
Okay. All right. Well.
They got you?
What?
Is your clock? Did you just look at your clock? Did you see it?
I suppose I can't see it. It's blocked. But yeah, I'll take your word for that. Well, so I think that perhaps that you might be are being used perhaps by the Illuminati. It sounds like. Do you recall the rituals? Who gave you that reading? Was that Laura Eisenhower, who said that you were an Illuminati, Moloch?
No, Chris Keller.
Okay, yeah.
Feeling on me.
Did he give you any details?
No. All he said to me, Ida, you don't want to know what these people have been doing, and but that you've been used, that you were offered up to Moloch. So I did it. So I contacted my landlord because through the Mental Health Association is how I got my apartment. And I went to them and I told them about this. I said, I'm aware of a satanic ritual being done on my life. And the director's superior looked at her like, help me. Like, what do I say? This is government involved. And I know Brian Stevens, he went over and above and beyond to get me in this apartment so they'd have access to me. I'm telling you.
Okay, all right.
And when I have regression, God knows, I don't know what I'm going to find out. But I know this, I'm not an evil person. I take ants outside. I believe in life. I support life in all its manifestations. And if I find out that they've had me doing some satanic ritual crap, I'm not going to be happy, James. So we'll have to interview again after I have my regressions, after I speak to Simon Parks, because I'll have more clarity as to what's going on.
Okay, well, do you recall any missing time?
Yes. After I went through, I woke up. Remember I told you I saw the images in my head of my niece and nephew? I woke up and I was signing everything 2016. That was last year. Or the year before.
So it was like a clairvoyant vision?
2014. 2014 I was signing things, and I was signing 2016. I think it was 2014. It was either the end of 2014 or the beginning of 2015. I can't remember exactly, but I kept signing everything 2016, and then at that time I had decided to come off all my medications for my ADHD and bipolar, because it was all, mind you, my doctor admitted to me that ADHD is fictitious, and he said to me, Ida, be careful, there are powerful forces out there, because I told him I was going to contact the authorities about him treating me for something he's admitting that isn't even real. Can you believe that? It's mind-blowing. And I wrote the medical board, and I haven't heard back from them. I contacted the police about the break-in and about them avoiding doing an investigation because Detective Sarah White is protecting these police officers because she knows what they were here for, to gang stalk me. But anyways, so there is an Illuminati aspect to this. I don't believe my father was like a Mason or anything like that, but he was definitely involved in some, you know, the underworld, if you will. I mean, he was prostitute, you know, he was, if you will, he pimped women, and, you know, he God knows what happened to my dad and my mom's side for that matter. Have you ever heard of KFC Chicken, the Colonel? He was a handler.
No, that's new to me.
Hack Spears talks about it. You should check it out. But you know what's so interesting? My mother had 12 kids, James, all healthy. Nothing wrong with none of us. And I think that they used her to breed babies from different beings or whatever. Like if you heard the introduction to my book, it's pretty fascinating.
Do you have a copy of that book so we could see it?
I haven't published. I'm doing it in 3 parts. It's called Little Sister's Lost Soul. You want to hear the introduction? It takes like a minute and a half.
Oh, sure, if you've got it handy.
I remember it. It's weird that I memorized it. And so I know that that's my purpose, because the angelic music started playing through the speakers after I wrote it. I heard this, oh, and I'm like, okay, I got you.
Okay.
So it goes like this. Well, here, let me show you. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. My family, everybody, like, I never knew I could write. Everybody, I heard my counselor one day say, you know, if Ida wrote it, you know it's going to be good. Well, I never thought that I was, you know, it's just my writing. I didn't know that it was, other people see it as being a gift or an art or a creative art for me or whatever you want to call it. So this is my promotional picture. You notice the angel on there?
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
This is the cover of my book.
Okay.
This is where I went in that tunnel at 5 years old. I think that was my first initiation with Gaia, Mother Earth.
So was that like a... So that tunnel experience, what did you experience at the...
Years old. Okay, so I was at my grandmother's, and this little boy and his sister, they were both the same age. They were having a birthday, and he got a bike, and I asked him if I could ride his bike, and I promised him I would come right back. And he didn't know me, but he was kind enough and let me ride the bike. Well, I got on the bike and flew on the bike like I knew where I was going, but I'd never been there before. Because I'd never been in this neighborhood. I was only 5. But I flew on that bike, and I went straight to an underground sewer tunnel like I knew where I was going. I didn't stop anywhere or anything. I dropped the bike, and I went in the underground sewer tunnel, and it was pitch black, and all I felt was the vibration of the tunnel and the concrete and the coldness. And it was silent, and there was no thought or anything. All I just kept going and going and going till I got to the end of the tunnel. When I got to the end of the tunnel, my foot went in down in this, like the tunnel had separated, and I could see these specks of light come through the top. And I remember from going to church with my grandmother, I was taught that God is above and the devil is below. So I'm thinking I just stole this little boy's bike. The devil's going to get me. I lied. I told him I was going to come right back. And all I kept thinking was there was going to be this hand that yanked me down in this mushy, gross stuff. And it was my first time ever praying on my own that I can recall. And I said, God, if you get me out of here, I promise I'll never do this again. And I turned around and I start going back out through the tunnel, and this pin of light, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was told by this guy that I met that that was an initiation. So I'm not sure, and I wanted him to explain that to me better, but he was like, just like we have veins in our body, Gaia has veins in hers. And it's the water and the life force that runs through this water and her body and her being. And I'm not sure, I'm not clear on it, but that, yeah.
Okay.
So I start writing this book, Little Sister's Lost Soul. So if you think about it, me being the youngest of 12, I'm not done. I mean, I'm doing it in 3 parts because there's so much. I'm only at the age of 19. But if you knew, the first time I ever used drugs, I was 6 years old. My brother gave me a bong and a pot and watched me run around the room high, laughing at me. I drank beer up until I was introduced to acid and PCP and cocaine. I was 12 years old. I was sticking needles in my arm. 12. But I'm alive. I'm here, James. And I'm healthy. And I thank God for that every day. Oh, you know this Morgellons crap or whatever? Yeah, I think that I've been attacked. I have a rash on my head.
Okay, and essentially, for people that don't know, Morgellons is an artificial intelligence, perhaps from chemtrails. Is that what the underlying thinking is? It's actual
I think
nanites.
Something. Well, I watched this guy Duvall. He did an interview with another girl that was supposed to be a monarch, person that went through the monarch, and she shows. I could send them to you when we get off here. I'll send them to you when we hang up. But there's like these little crystal things that they find like this wiring through it. It's like this, and I have this little rash on my head, and it drives me nuts because I'm a clean freak, and I have a little OCD. Oh, mind you, my whole house is done in red, black, and white, which is the Illuminati colors. And had I known that, I would have never gotten red, black, and white. Just to let you know.
It sounds like some programming there. Oh, look at that.
All red, black, and white. Everywhere. Okay? I don't know if you could see.
Yeah, I see it.
The whole house is red, black, and white. That's all family, all of... Oh! Let me show you. So, this is my grandmother from my dad's side. My grandmother, Frida. You see her?
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's good old dad, Mr. thinking he's, whatever.
Yeah.
And, hold on. This is my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She was young. And then, by the way, I was supposed to audition. I was going to go for they've been trying to get their hands on me for a long time. Like, I probably could have been in the, I don't know what. I'm not saying that because I'm a very humble person. But I'm a heck of a dancer, and I was quite something when I was younger. But there was something in me that knew, do not go, Hollywood and all this stuff. Like, just don't even do it. Because I knew, and my spirit must have known there was something that wasn't right.
Yeah, they probably would have groomed you further.
Oh, yeah, there's my dad and me. That's when I was auditioning. That's when I was auditioning.
Well, there's kind of a glare from the screen. Can you, just move the angle a little bit. Okay. Yeah, okay. We can see him a little bit.
That's me at Ocean City because I drowned in those waters. I drowned. I saw my whole life flash before my eyes.
Okay.
And I crossed over. I never got to finish telling you when I committed suicide what happened. And I said, God, if you okay, so when I took the pills, I took a bunch of pills, and I said, I'm laying down now. I don't know if I'm going to get up, but I'm laying down. Okay, I did it like I was waiting for this hand to come and, back then I didn't know anything of what I know now. And I went, it was like I pushed through this veil of, like, from one dimension to another. And I'm looking around trying to figure out where I'm at. And there's nothing but white light everywhere. And there's nothingness. There's nothing. Just white light. There's no nothing. Like you're inside of a light bulb. And it's so bright and so, but not painful to the eye. But it's just so bright, white, and silent. There's nothing. And I remember looking around and I realized I had no hands, no body, nothing. And I said, God, if you're real, show me. And the two most profound words that were said is, I am. I am. The next day, James, I don't even know how I woke up. I mean, I took enough medication to take everybody out, okay? And I'm running around, God spoke to me in a dream, and I'm telling everybody, it was like, okay, Ida, sure, whatever. But, and then, like a week later, maybe, I don't even watch PBS, but for some reason, see, this is what's so amazing, how the absolute divine creator, that everything shows up in our life for as a teacher, and even the most horrific things that we think are just so terrible, they have their own divine purpose. Let me just say that, okay? So I'm watching TV, and here's Deepak Chopra on PBS talking about consciousness. And that's when I found out about this thing called consciousness. And then, as I've been on my search, I realized that everything is consciousness. And that religion is a structured way of worship, and it's not necessary, and it's to keep separation, domination, and control. And that I don't have to be in agreement to anything I don't want to be in agreement to. Any of us, right? That obviously these dark forces do what they do, being sneaky and deceptive, because they know if they came to us straight out and wanted us to be a part of something that is completely against our soul's nature, we wouldn't be in agreement to it. So they have to be slimy and sneaky. But everything, if you know that the dark cannot put out the light, but the light surely can light up the dark. And
that's true.
So I know that even though I've not made the best choices in my life, I knew that 95% of the stuff that I did that one would say would cause great shame, guilt, and pain in somebody, I did because I was under mind control. I would not have done it had I not been. I know it. So.
Okay. Well, can you talk a little bit about your connection with with Jesus? Did you say you?
Well,
do you feel comfortable talking about that?
I don't know because I have a good idea of who I am, right? But
like a soul energy.
I don't want to say it with any kind of ego or. Let me share the introduction of my book with you. This might help a little bit. Can I do that?
Yes. Go ahead.
So it's called Little Sister's Lost Soul, and it goes like this. I've always known that I've been blessed with a spiritual eye. I say that with every bit of humility I'm humanly capable. The challenge always is removing my ego and feminine wiles. As I've just recently discovered, I've denied everything I was because everything I was human. And I didn't like what thoughts were created through my mind of flesh. I know my true self, that is the Spirit of God that dwells and lives within me. I am in love with me. When I pray and practice meditation, I'm at my best to stay spiritually conditioned for a higher learning, which only the God of my understanding can teach me in this beautiful gift of life and fill my spirit with the spirit of love and truth. When I stay in the Spirit of God, not of the flesh, I do His will, not mine, because my will is His. Higher learning. I was trapped and consumed by the insanity of my mind, jailed from the freedom to have peace in my sleep, to feel safe by those that were supposed to protect me and valued by people that had no concept of what the innocence of a child meant, and rightfully what should have never been taken from me. Born into a family I didn't feel I belonged from a very small child. People who didn't love me, though I loved them anyways. I'm at a place in my life where I'm meeting Ida for the first time. This experience will be never ending because, as I believe it to be a truth for myself, life has always changed. The goal is to practice being in the moment and living your purpose to the best you are humanly capable. I hope by writing this book I'll be able to help other men and women who may have struggled with pain and healing from sexual, physical, mental, and emotional abuse, or any other of its kind. Unknown value and esteem will no longer exist when we together can heal from the sadness in our hearts and make a difference in each other's lives through simply giving of oneself. I find that to be very simple. A kind thought, which can change into being a kind word and become a kind act. That to me is simply extending love to another human being. That's it.
Wow, that's profound. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I woke up reciting that out of my sleep, and I understand that if that happens, Simon Parks refers to that, saying that that's often, that you've gone through like you've been abducted. I believe I'm Pleiadian, starseed, and possibly, well, we all have reptilian in us, but I could be, I don't know anything for sure, but I have a good feeling who I am, and I don't like to say it not because I'm scared to be wrong, because if I'm wrong, then that's fine. My search is to find out who I am, But I do believe that I am a very old soul, and I do believe that I was very close to Jesus, and that's all I'm going to say for now, until I know for sure, because I surely don't want to give information that's not, true. That I won't do. I mean, I speak my own truth to the best of my ability. Yeah.
All right. Now, you've also said that you were in contact with Evie Lorgan. What does she happen to say to you about the alien love bites?
That it sounds like I was in a love bite scenario, and that I definitely was abducted, but the question is why? And she wanted me to be involved in some, possibly get on this online group where people, for other contactees and so forth, but I'm not comfortable with that. I've dealt with enough attacks. I've gone through enough of everything in my life. At this point, it's time for me to walk in my own power and truth. And I don't know that I feel like, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I think her work, James Bartley, I could, go on and on. I think, Albert Weber, all these people, your work, you guys are doing amazing things. But I think some of these people are off the demise of other people's pain and suffering. They are gaining, earning money, and I don't think that's cool. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Right. Okay.
I'm not going to be, put it this way, I'm not going to get on an online group. For me, if it works for other people, no problem. But I'm not doing that. Because I don't need to do that. And I can share my story with the people I choose to share it with and not be sitting in this victim state. I'm no victim here.
Right. And at the right time, you will recall what you need to know. That's the way I always look at it as. I mean, who knows? Maybe you have experienced the most severe traumas, but if you were to start remembering now without going through, say, an initiation process or a self-healing process, it could result even a total meltdown or collapse, or who knows what could go on.
I've gone through. I laid in my bed for 2 months in fetal position in so much pain after breaking up with that last love bite scenario, and I believe it was necessary for me to stop putting other people and loving other people and seeking love outside myself. So while it was painful, it also caused me to and ignited me to go within my own beingness to find that. And now I don't have the attachments like I used to. where, because I get attached to you. I love to love, Jay. Like, if I seen you right now, I'd probably give you a big hug. I'm just very loving and affectionate, and I've been this way all my life, and I love that about me.
Yeah,
But
and
I
don't
guess
change.
yeah, from the trauma, I have not known boundaries, okay, because I would, I've gone through so much sexual abuse and physical abuse, and I believe they've been trying to kill me for a long time. And guess what? Even with my own doings of trying to take my life because I just couldn't, I was in so much despair. I'm not going anywhere until the absolute divine creator is ready for me to be done with my mission. It's just, I've accepted that. And I embrace that. And all I want to do is be pleasing to the universe and being of service to humanity however I can. I don't know
And
what
here
that,
you are.
I
Yeah.
don't know what my mission is, but I have a good idea. It's a pretty big one.
Okay, great.
So,
Well, do you have any other final message you would like to share? Something you haven't...
well,
Yeah.
sure. Well, first I want to thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
You're
I'm
welcome.
excited to, be in this journey with the rest of those that are seeking to have the knowledge for their own higher good and healing as well as the collective. And I just encourage everybody to go within their own beingness. All the answers are there. And while we may get frustrated and think, I'm not doing, what am I doing? What's my purpose? Everything will happen in its divine time. Everything. And we just got to be open, but more importantly, extending love, being love, is the highest gift that we can give back to the universe, and the blessings for even being in agreement to be on this planet right now. We're all blessed to be here right now. This is a huge time for humanity, and everybody that was here in the beginning is here now. Everybody. So the goal is to, I hear this voice saying from Simon Parks, the soul will not reveal itself and who it is, if you will, not saying it like it's something separate from me, but we all will awaken to our truth and who we are when we're ready to handle knowing who we are.
And that goes back to the I am, when you ask the name of God, which is I am.
I know.
Yes.
Can you believe? Listen, I've heard so many near-death experiences when I was trying to figure out what the heck, because I thought I was dreaming. I'm running around saying, God spoke to me in a dream. And I went into a drug rehab, and one of my counselors said, Ida, do you know who I am is? And I said, no. I didn't. I was a kid and went to church, but I didn't grow up in a religious family. I remember asking my mother, Mom, do you believe in the Bible? And she said, Ida, the Bible is a book of history like every other book. But there are esoteric teachings and spiritual teachings, but we have to be open to realizing that you can't take it literally. Like, you got to do some soul searching to really, for those things to be revealed to us. And so I was, I didn't grow up in this, I didn't know God says, I am that I am. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. So when she said, I am is God, that is God's name. Well, God is everything. Everything. Even what we would consider, like that guy that you do some interviews. By the way, your interviews are amazing. You're doing such great work, and I
Thank
just
you.
love you for that. You're welcome. What's his name? I forgot his name. He talks about the male and female energy of the totality of the source creator.
We talk about Jay Essex.
Yes, him. He's amazing, and I believe, there's something in me. There's this knowingness. When I hear truth, I know it's true. It's like I've known that information for a long time. Just didn't know I knew it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I'm excited. Is he still around? Because I know in one of the interviews he was saying that he was going to be leaving in August.
Yeah. There's been a lot of controversy about it. If I have to be very careful what I say, because I might get swept up in the controversy. I've been trying to stay neutral, but recently,
Yeah.
all of his videos have been taken off his YouTube account. There's been a lawsuit going on with his business partner, and things have gotten a little ugly. So he is still around, but probably when he said that he wasn't going to be around anymore, that's when things started falling apart. So I think when he thought that he wasn't, I think he might have been wrong about him saying physically. I think what was going on is like his support group or his network sort of fell apart, and it's kind of sad to see what happened. But I don't know. Maybe from this something better will appear. I don't know. But yeah.
Right. So this is the thing. See, so what I know for sure, and I appreciate what you just said, because this is why I know that you're a beautiful spirit. You have a beautiful, powerful soul, James. Because some people would not be so loving, because that was a very loving and kind thing you just said. A lot of people look, they say one thing, that they want all this wonderful, that they're supportive and all this other stuff, and behind closed doors, they feed off of, that's that negative energy.
Yeah.
It's demise. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
See, I'm not down
I
with
know
that.
about that. Yeah.
Right. And I can sense that like the back of my hand. I know when somebody's like that. And it doesn't, and I'm the person that will say it right to you. Like, you're not being very kind, and I don't like it. And so therefore, if we can't honor one another, then I don't need to engage with you.
Were you the type of person that went, like, when you were a kid, did you go up to bullies in school and told them to piss off?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my brother Salem's like that. Salem was trying to be the good bully. My brother Salem, this guy, Salem, he was like a, see, ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
So who's that?
Go anywhere. If he comes to Maryland area, they call him. Yeah, he was very, very, very popular, and he protected kids that bullies would pick on. Like my family, we're pretty amazing, but we're a lot of fun. And while we might fight amongst ourselves, we stick together. But my mother always taught, like, everybody always knew they could come to Miss Carter's house. They'd have a roof over their head, food in their stomach, and clothes on their back. And I'm glad I'm like that. And I'm a huge empath, and I don't like people teasing handicapped people. I'm very protective over people, especially people I'm close to. Like, now I've met you, I like you, and I would consider you to be a friend. Until you give me a reason to feel like you're not my friend.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
Awesome, okay.
Yeah, so anyways, enough of that. But yes, I pray that, Jay gets back in alignment with himself and that good things happen. That's all I hope for with him. Because I think he's amazing. And, I do. I think he's amazing, and I think that he knows a lot of what he's talking about. And I don't think that he's, no. I believe him. I believe what he talks about.
Okay, great. All right, well, I think that might be a good place to stop. Am I?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, well, thank you very much, Ida, for sharing your story with us. And, if you do have any updates, you're welcome. I'll give you my email. You can send it or contact me on Facebook. And I can publish it on Super Soldier Talk, or if it's something really good, we can do another video. So I'm sure a lot of people will probably want to get an update to hear about what's going on with you, in particular if you're missing time and experiences. But yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Once I do my sessions with Simon Parks, I think that would be a good place. After all that is done, I'll probably say hello to you on Facebook and stuff anyways, but once I get a better understanding, then I'll come back to you, and if you're interested, we can do another video at some point.
Okay.
I wish you well, and keep doing what you do. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and this opportunity.
And thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.